a mood neurotransmitter. If you have enough serotonin, you're probably happy. If you don't have enough, you're sad. So if you're depressed, that's one of the first places they look to give you some pill or something that has serotonin in it to make you happy, undepressed. All right, ACH, what's the A help you with?
Memory.
Alzheimer's memory. All right. Dopamine, too much dopamine. Schizophrenia, you're skittish, dopey. Too little, Parkinson's, your tremors and stuff. Serotonin does what? That's your mood. Enough of that, you're happy, you're in a good mood. Maybe too much of it would lead to like bipolar. You'd almost be like manic, you'd be so happy. Right? Not that good either. Right? And too little of it is some kind of depression. Norepinephrine. Norepinephrine.
Nora is bipolar. Too much or too little of norepinephrine causes mania and depression in folks who have bipolar, as this chemical also affects mood.
Okay, so like serotonin. Now, on your answers on these kind of things, you can have more than one right answer, like on the writing part. Remember, norepinephrine is kind of a hard one, but Nora. Nora is a girl's name. Nora. Okay? If Nora has too much of this, she actually becomes bipolar. Right? That means she's real high when she's happy, way higher than a happy person should be. Right? And when she's not happy, she's way lower than a sad person should be. We're all happy at certain times and we're all sad, but we usually stay within a certain range. But that wouldn't be something that I would consider a problem unless they win the Super Bowl every single day. And I was up here every single day. So everyone would go out of the range here and there, but I mean, you shouldn't be out of the range too often. But norepinephrine would be, if you're bipolar, that might be one of the first places they look to see whether they need to add some norepinephrine or subtract, depending on which way you are. How about GABA?
Gabby talks too much and needs to be quiet down and made to be more inhibited. Gabby is an inhibitory chemical that slows down neural function.
Slows down neural functions, and it says in your book the function is a major inhibitory neurotransmitter. If inhibitory means it's going to stop you from doing something, I like to think of somebody that's drinking and maybe had a few drinks too many. Would they sometimes say and do things that they wouldn't normally say and do?
Yes.
Okay. That is what an inhibitory neurotransmitter will keep you from doing. It'll have you acting normal. If you're off on one of those type of things, or if you change it by drinking or something like that, then you're blocking your own body's ability to say, hey, I wouldn't normally do this. That's how people get themselves in trouble with having sex with someone that they might not have sex with because they're under the influence of a neurotransmitter that they wouldn't normally want to be under in a certain time. Alcohol is one of those things that would do that to you. GABA makes you gabby, and if you have too much of this, this leads to tremors and seizures and things like that. No, that's an undersupply. Undersupply, tremors and seizures, almost Parkinson-like. What's the other one that Parkinson's will cause if you don't have enough of it? Without looking. Dopamine. All right? And then one more, there's more than this, but these are the major ones. If you just don't breathe, probably can get by on anything. And then your own body's one. What's your own body one? You run, and this one starts building up in you. Endorphins. The endorphins. All right, last one is glutamate. Forget anything else on this. Gluta is what? Sugar. Gluta is sugar. Glucose, sugar, glutamate, sugar. What do you suppose enough extra sugar will do to you? It's an excitability type one. It's a major excitatory neurotransmitter. It is involved in memory. Sugar is supposed to be something that's good for memory, but then you got to be on that same sugar to recall that same memory. Oversupply can overstimulate the brain, making you go a little bit too fast. And undersupply, not enough, you won't remember stuff. That's the best I can do for a quick update on those. But you guys need to know those neurotransmitters, and the little cheat sheet should help you with it. All right? All right, let's go to the next page. Major nervous system. Central, right? What are the two parts of the central?
Spine.
Brain,
Oh,
spinal
yeah,
cord,
spinal.
okay? Any nervous system that's not part of the central nervous system is the, like your peripheral vision, not part of the central. The peripheral nervous system includes all nervous systems except for brain, spinal cord, alright? Now, the first of the peripheral that we'll look at is the one that controls your skeletal system, your arms, your legs, your muscles, stuff like that. That is called the what? Somatic, very good. That's a hard one to remember for me. To me, that's the hard. That's kind of separate. We don't have to know much about that. That's your skeletal system. All right, let's go to the ones that are a little bit, you have different neurons. What are the neurons that collect information from the world and bring it to your brain? What are the 5 things you have that pick up information?
Oh, your sensory.
So what type of neurons are they?
Sensory.
Sensory neurons. They pick up stuff from your senses, your touch, your eyes, your nose. They pick that information up through those sensory neurons, send them to the interneurons, which are the neurons that go both ways, right? And then they take it to the brain, and the brain says, that smells good. I think I'm gonna go get me a bite of that, right? And so then your brain then sends a signal to what neurons to get moving. Motor neurons. So they all go together, okay? Alright, another nervous system is the autonomic nervous system. What does autonomic sound like?
Automatic.
Yes. So it's a nervous system you don't have to worry about. It's going to do its thing without you telling it what to do. As long as you don't mess it up by putting the wrong drugs or whatever in there to mess it up. Okay? The autonomic nervous system has 2 parts, a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic is your fight or flight response. There's a gunman chasing us down here. As soon as we hear that and we know it's for real, the first thing that's going to happen to your heart?
It's gonna raise, you're right.
What's going to happen to your eyeballs? Your pupils are going to dilate. What's going to happen to your stomach?
You're not gonna be hungry no more.
Your digestive enzymes are going to stop. Right? What's going to happen to your liver and pancreas?
They might get.
They're going to start producing more sugar for you. What will the sugar do?
Energy.
To fight or flight. All right? Now, I'm going to be in charge because I'm the teacher, and I am going to tell Reggie, flip those lights on your way to the corner. The rest of you guys get in the corner. I'm going to shut the lights off. We're all heartbeat and everything else, and we're going to shut that light down. I don't care if it takes 20 minutes. Our hearts are still going to be racing. And maybe we hear an announcement, or Rayleigh comes by, opens the door, and says, Foreman, they're coming down. You got to get your kids out that window and start running. Okay? Well, we're going to listen to Rayleigh? Yep. We're going to open that window and we're going to start running. And the reason that your liver and your pancreas are going to start producing more sugar is it's going to start sending more oxygen to the big muscles in your body. What's the biggest muscle in your body? Where is it? How about your thighs? Big muscles in your legs, right? And what do you suppose those big muscles will need to get themselves moving?
Energy.
They need oxygen.
Yeah.
Alright, they need energy. And does your stomach need to eat at this point?
No.
That's why you're shutting down the parts that are not essential. They'll come back later, and you're taking care of the essential parts. Right? And as we run and we run and we run, and we'll be able to run for a while, especially if we see shots hitting behind us. Alright? At some point, we'll stop running, and at some point, what nervous system will take over again?
The
The
parasympathetic.
parasympathetic
Bring
will
us down.
bring us back down to normal. Okay, with no questions asked, that's what it does. And every day, both of those nervous systems are working to you, not under the extent that I just described, but when I say, hey, did you get your homework done, and for a second you can't remember whether you did it or not, could that trigger the sympathetic nervous system? And then a few minutes later, whether you found it or not, or maybe 15 minutes later, the parasympathetic will get you back to normal. Go to the next page. On that diagram on 88, that's a good example of, on the left, what the sympathetic nervous system will do for you. Pay attention to these things. And then on the right, what the parasympathetic will do to you. All right? Everybody know what a reflex is?
Yeah.
The endocrine system. We're on page 90. I think this is where I stopped. So very quickly, the endocrine system is like, all right, so there's 2 systems of male. There's regular mail that you go to the post office, and there's email. Which one of those are gonna get to you faster if I send them at the same time?
Email.
Okay, all those other systems that we talked about, that's your email. Okay? You put your hand on a hot stove, you don't want your body to tell you 15 minutes later that your hand is burning. You need to know now. And that's why your neurons that work, all the other ones we talked about, are gonna immediately pick that hand up. In fact, they're gonna shut your brain out of that process for a minute. Just the spinal cord will send it back. And then your brain's gonna have to real quick say, hey, what do I do? Let's find some lukewarm water, let's find a nurse, let's find a bandage, stuff like that. But at the same time that this is happening, your body also has a slow male response. And that's the endocrine system. It's gonna do what's important to do. It's not gonna move your hand out of there, but it's gonna start taking care of you afterwards, all right? So the endocrine system, are we on the bottom of 90 behind me? Holy cow, you're not even close. What the heck are you doing? All right, the endocrine system, I need you guys to stay with me here. These are the chemical messengers. They're hormones for sex. They're hormones for food. They're hormones for aggression. They very slowly tell you what to do, okay? And they're chemicals in your body that your body can create depending on what your mind tells it to do. Or in some cases, if it's an automatic system, let's say I have gone too long without eating. What parts of my body are going to try to alert me that I better start eating? A normal person has stomach, and I still have one, so I actually will start getting some rumbling right here. It'll be like, you ever had your stomach rumble?
Yeah.
And it's actually sending a chemical message with the rumbling to your brain. It's a slow one. It's not vital that you eat at that exact second, but it's telling your brain, I'm hungry, I need something. Your liver and your pancreas are also doing small rumblings that you don't even know. They're secreting chemicals to your brain saying, hey, we're low on sugar, get some food so we can turn it into some sugar and run the rest of this body. You want us to run the body or not? And so then the brain has to say, hey, get your butt up, go find something to eat, let's go. Right? That's what your endocrine system is. Somebody makes you mad, or they beat you in a sport, or they steal your boyfriend or girlfriend, or they punch you in the head, that might lead to other chemicals like aggression. Another one that we're not going to deal with right now, another chemical messenger deals with sex. One thing I want you to think about with all of these, though, is they're all very easy to remember, and they're all usually hard to forget. Right? When you're mad at somebody, you don't forget the next day that you're mad at them, do you? In fact, there are people I know that can hang on to that for years. Right? My colleague across the hall, if you get him mad at you, he'll remember you for years. And he will. He'll even tell me about it 5 years from now if I'm still alive and you guys will go, remember that, whatever her name is, or that, and I'm like, holy crap. I don't get that mad and aggressive that often, so, but those are memory. Sexual memories of like somebody that you like are fond of or something like that, you'll remember them long after you haven't seen them again. Right? Hunger is another one of those things. If you're ever hungry, those memories of that they'll be there. Yeah, and you'll maybe not remember the specific thing, but those chemical messengers, that's part of why they're in the slow system. They're going to get the message to you, and they're going to get the message to you loud and clear. It may not be like, move your hand, dummy, you're burning your hand, because you got to get this out of the way. But it'll be something that your brain will long-term store and say, this ain't going nowhere, we got to have it. All right, now, look at the bottom of look at the man and woman on the picture. Is the man and woman up behind me?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the reason why these messages are faster than the neural messages, the chemical messages are faster than the neural messages, is because your body in some way, shape, or form is trying to tell you these are things that are more important to remember. You don't ever have to remember to move your hand from a hot stove. Don't have to remember that. You'll remember that it happened. And in fact, if this happens, the reason that you'll remember that you burned your hand won't be because the neuron burned and you moved. It'll be because the feeling of pain that your body eventually flooded over to your hand. Might not hurt for a second. It might take 2 or 3 seconds before the pain to get there because you have pain receptors that are actually shutting it off because it hurts too much. And then it's going to slowly send things to your hand to say, holy crap, that hurts. Holy crap, that hurts. Holy crap, we got to do something real fast. But instead of, otherwise it could just completely knock you out. It'd be so bad your body wouldn't be able to handle it. And then if you're knocked out, well, your hand's not being treated. And so that's why that's the slow system going. Giving your brain a chance to operate. All right. Gonna get to this stuff real soon, but you have a little tiny, you can see in the woman's side, the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is probably not the size. Ronald, don't fall asleep. You gotta get another Pepsi, get another Pepsi. The pituitary gland is probably the same size as a pea, a green pea. Have you ever seen a green pea? That's about as big as it. And it might be the most important part of your entire being. Right? That green pea regulates, well, it's not a green pea, that regulates all your glands. All right? That is like your master gland. That will tell your sex hormones to go or not go, your hunger hormones to go or not go, your aggression hormones. Every emotion, everything, it can be triggered from there. Now I'm going to teach you one more thing real quick and then we'll get it later. But that thing actually has a master too. That's the master gland. One of my old psych people, what's the master of the master? Hypothalamus. You have a part of your brain called the hypothalamus, and that actually runs the pituitary.
I wasn't lying, people.
Oh, yeah, my bad. We didn't.
I did cover some of it for them.
Did you teach them that?
Yes, I
Yeah,
told
he
them.
did.
None of them remembered it.
They just said it. They weren't gonna say it out loud because they're scared to be wrong in front of a teacher.
Why?
I don't know.
Because I mean?
Yes, you're cruel. You
You're
beat students.
horrible.
Alright, and
You
then you
laugh.
also have,
Looking wrong.
if you look,
We
you
go.
also have adrenal glands for adrenaline. And these are produced in and around the pancreas and the liver, and they will arouse your body in times of stress. What's the first thing that happens when Rayleigh comes down and tells us there's a fight or flight and we get all excited? What's the thing that's going in our body that's rushing through? Adrenaline, coming from the adrenal glands, triggered by the pituitary, which is told by the
Hypothalamus.
let me see if there's anything else. Pea-sized core of the brain.
Foreman, we have a question.
Yes.
When you said when you have your hand on a burner and your brain automatically tells your hand to take it away,
Then your brain won't. Your spinal cord will do that. Well, yeah.
the pain will stay there if you keep your hand on the burner. But when we have pain and we take an aspirin or something, does the aspirin send messages to your brain saying
It's a chemical message from the aspirin, and it's going to fit. It's going to actually, aspirin is probably going to be an agonist, because it's basically going to try to thin the blood. It's going to try to say blood, we're too much of you guys here, let's spread ourselves out. One of the reasons that people will carry aspirin is if they have heart conditions, and it can make their blood thinner so it's easier to flow through the arteries, and they can maybe get to the hospital, unless for someone like me that's allergic to it. But yeah, that's exactly what that does.
You're allergic to aspirin.
I'm allergic to aspirin, which is a bad thing to be allergic to.
Yeah.
One of those vital medicines. Oxytocin, that's the last thing that I want to talk about on the bottom of there. It's a type of growth hormone, and it basically, it's associated in women with like contractions, like when you're about ready to give birth, and it like helps with the labor process, but it's also like a pair bonding thing. It makes us like each other more. Right? So if you take an oxytocin, you're more like, oh, I love everybody. Okay? Or if your body just starts, this is one that you can produce on your own as well, too. All right? But they actually did a study that they did a little nasal squirt into people. Some people got the oxytocin, some people got just a nasal squirt of nothing. And which ones do you think were more likely to loan money to people that they had
The
never met?
oxytocin. The oxytocin.
Hey, you know what, I love you guys, here's $20. Okay? I know you can bet me tomorrow. Brain, pituitary, other gland. Okay, I'm good there. Any questions?
No.
Alright, go to the page behind me at 92. Let's answer these questions. I'll give you a 3-minute break to stand and move or whatever, and then we'll go back into the next one. Which of the following carries information necessary to activate the withdrawal of a hand from a hot object? Reflex, very good. Hormones are
Chemical.
Chemical messengers.
released into the
Bloodstream.
bloodstream. Which division of the nervous system produces a startle response?
Sympathetic.
Sympathetic.
You said
I would have thought it's the autonomic.
Autonomic, yeah.
Yeah, because it's
Autonomic or sympathetic?
like fear.
you said
Yeah, I
I
think
think like
it's
you
the
can control
autonomic.
fear. It's automatic, right?
I would think so.
You can't control fear. Like, I mean, you can't.
How? Yeah.
like
Wait
you
a
said,
minute.
the sympathetic is the one
I don't
that
like
controls
talking myself, 'cause
the fight or flight response, right? So, but it says, wouldn't that be in the
Sympathetic is flight or flight, but the startle is an immediate. It might be part of it, but it would then be taken over by the autonomic right away, I would think.
Okay.
Which of the following endocrine glands may explain an unusually tall height in a 12-year-old? Parathyroid. A thyroid is growth,
C-A-E-E.
but I don't know what a parathyroid is. So
One of those is.
Jacob, Google that one, please. Figure it out. Google
My
it.
phone's kind of busy.
What is it?
My phone's busy.
I don't care.
I can't stop it.
All right, Sean, Google that one, find out the answer for number 4 for us. All right, which of the following communicates with the pituitary, which in turn controls the endocrine system?
C.
Hypothalamus. Which branch of the central nervous system calms a person?
Parasympathetic.
Epinephrine and norepinephrine increase energy and are released by the...
Yeah, scroll up. Hey,
Is it B?
scroll, I mean, scroll down.
No. Yep.
Released by the... It's not, the thalamus and the hypothalamus are not glands, they can't release anything, they just release signals.
Yes,
It's
we
not
did
B?
answer these.
I think it's
Or down.
It's not B?
I would think it's the adrenal glands, would be my guess.
For which one?
Oh, well, yeah. Never mind.
I need to
What was
know,
the question?
The question for 4 was, which of the following?
isn't it up?
It was pituitary.
See, I knew. A, B,
It's
C. It was one of them.
Which one was it?
Pituitary.
Did he find it?
Yes.
We did all these.
We answered this question Friday. We already looked it up.
Alright, number 4 was what then?
Pituitary.
Pituitary.
Pituitary. And number 6 was, oh no, not number 6, number 5?
7.
Number
Oh,
5.
number 7, epinephrine and norepinephrine.
I can't see the question.
Scroll
You
down.
go to
Well, it
7.
might be adrenaline.
Huh?
Oh.
Me, you're on your phone.
Dude, I'm busy.
No, your job is to be my assistant, not
Bro,
to
I
be busy.
literally like.
Or get Sean, you guys gotta.
Sean,
Get
quick question.
You want Sean to
Adrenal
do it,
glands.
have Sean do it, 'cause I could care less.
But I don't care who does it, as long as one of you guys are doing it. Now, before we go further, move up on the practice FRQs. Look at these, because sometimes I'll pull your, and I don't remember, I'll let you know tomorrow if I put FRQs on the next test or not.
Please.
They're coming up real soon. Alright, while walking barefoot, you step on a piece of glass. Before you have a chance to consciously process what happened, you draw your foot away from the glass. Identify and explain 3 types of neurons that deal with information. Now, this would be a piece of cake one. But what they would normally do, instead of saying you, they would say Hannah steps on a piece of glass. And then when you're answering, you'll get 0 points. Because they will then say, please identify and explain the 3 types of neurons, or identify and explain how Hannah's 3 types of neurons deal with the information. They're going to expect you to use that person's name in every answer. So 1A, you would write down Hannah's sensory neurons carry information from the glass through the central nervous system. Right? Another point, Hannah's motor neurons carry information from her central nervous system after she's received the message back to the body to respond. And Hannah's interneurons are carrying the messages back and forth. And that's all you have to do, and you get 3 points. Okay? Now, name and describe the components and subcomponents of the peripheral nervous system. On your own, what you would have to say is there are multiple parts of the peripheral nervous system. They include the somatic, the autonomic, and all of that. And then they're going to have a rubric. And you're going to have so much stuff in a rubric. Now here it says name and describe the components and subcomponents. So if there's 5 components and each have 2 parts, this might be worth 15 points. Don't know. And you don't get them just for naming it. Name and describe. So that's another sentence or two to describe. What's one component is the somatic nervous system. Describe the somatic nervous system.
It lets you control your skeletal system.
Your body.
The nervous system that helps control the skeletal system, the muscular system in the body, movement in the body. There's a point for naming and describing. Okay? Does that have any subcomponents? Not that we've studied, so you wouldn't, I don't know if it does or not, but you wouldn't know any if it does. And I don't think it does. Alright? Alright. Before I go into the older brain, take 3 minutes and just chill. Stand up if you need to, get a drink if you need to, whatever you need to do.
We somewhat talked this on Friday.
Can you